And on your bottom left corner is the mute button. And the mute button is really handy if you got some noise in the background, like someone with a chainsaw. So if you're in the Ottawa Valley or somewhere in Ontario, you are probably either chainsawing or hearing a lot of people going, oh no, oh no. So just mitigate that sound in the background. Over to you, Margaret Ann.
Cool. I love it. Okay, so welcome everybody. Yes, I'm Margaret Ann Davis from downtown Fitzroy. I'm on the outskirts of Ottawa, and I'm one of the partners with Connect Ottawa, along with, of course, Bernie Franzgrove out there that you just heard. So welcome if you haven't been here before. We're a community that actually ended up getting together right after the pandemic started. Well, actually, Bernie and I started it just before the pandemic, and as the pandemic happened, it catapulted us into these online events. So Bernie's out fetching amazing talent from around the world. And every Tuesday we have been getting together faithfully from 1 to 2 to share in some news that benefits other business people, share some great people, and do some little networking. So as I was mentioning before, don't forget to copy and paste all your details and put it in the chat so somebody in the call can reach out if you so do desire, which is a great benefit of these calls, because here's what it is. It doesn't matter where you are, you can network. So if you hear something that resonates, those are the people you should connect with, all built on know, like, and trust. So on that note, we are going to go around the room quickly, have you all introduce yourself, give you about 30 seconds, share, I don't know, where you're from, who you are, what do you do? And you know what, Jeff, you joined us first, so if you don't mind, you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks, Margaret Ann. Bernie, thanks for inviting me. I had a chance to meet you once, and that was a great meeting. You've made some introductions for me that have turned out really well, so thanks for all of that. I am in the Chicago area. I've been a freelance writer for a little bit over 2 years, and currently I am focusing on writing case studies for businesses to use in their marketing.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jeff. Oh, we got some more people hopping on. And actually, I forgot to mention, we're going to be hearing about AI and note-taking from Justin when the presentation starts. So Justin, Bernie will introduce you later. That was a little bit of a faux pas, just this excitement with the storm and everything happening here. So
oh, no problem.
Okay, thanks. How about you, Roy? Oh, Roy, you're on mute.
You're calling you cute, buddy. Don't worry.
There you go. Sorry about that. Roy Medeiros. I'm based out of Newmarket, Ontario. And I want to thank you, Bernie and Margaret Ann, for inviting me to the session. I'm an outsourced VP of sales, so I work with small to medium-sized companies with regards to building their sales infrastructure and helping entrepreneurs and owners move away from the sales position and hiring key individuals to help them grow their businesses.
Okay, well, great to have you here, Roy.
Thank you.
And Anna.
Hello, everybody. This is not sunny Scotland that it normally looks like, but I am in Scotland, and this is my desired destination at some point. I'm a management consultant, and I also am a SME investor. But basically, I help the businesses to grow and prosper for the benefit of both the employees and the customers around them. And but that's it for me. I'll put my contact details in the chat, and I would look forward to have a talk with you or via LinkedIn or one-to-one, whatever we can arrange. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Anna. Great to have you here again. And Deb Workman.
Oh, Deb's going to be part of the group, but that's okay.
Well,
Deb, do a quick intro anyhow.
Hi, I'm one of the partners with Uncanny Labs, which is doing the presentation today. I won't tell you too much about what the presentation is going to be about. I'll let Justin do that. I have spent the last 20-some years owning a marketing company, as well as I'm a serial entrepreneur, and this is a magnificent company, great product, and can't wait for you guys to see it.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Deb. And Paula. Yeah, everybody has to unmute.
Yeah, sorry, I was mute. Hello, I'm in Portugal. I'm in Lisbon. I'm the president of a non-profit organization that works on the field and avoid having waste, mainly in food and textile. But we also we manage a network that it's a recover network from these two streams, food and textile, and we try to maintain on the value chain this kind of products, of course, if they are in good conditions, and we quantify and measure all the impacts of what we do in all operation. It's a national operation, that a daily operation in food, not in textile, of course. We measure and quantify impacts from social, environmental, and economical impacts through a platform a web app.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paula, for joining us today. Megan. You're on mute. Okay.
Sorry. There we go. That's better. Good evening, everyone. I am joining you just after 7 p.m. from Cape Town, South Africa, and I do see a few familiar faces here. I think Bernie would be one of the people that I've met before, and I think he's actually introduced me to a couple of people, to Justin and his team that work on the AI side. So I am a copywriter and content creator, and I do copy and content for both technical and creative clients. And I am essentially the bridge between the tech talkers and what the tech talkers get excited about that none of us normally understand when they tell us about it. So I simplify, clarify, and energize that jargon and language so that everybody else gets to understand it and get excited about the innovation happening in science and tech as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, guys, we're 1:12, so we're going to have to do about 20 seconds. I'm going to go through. Here's very quickly, sorry. But Eduardo, how about you?
Hi, everybody. I hope you weren't too affected by the storm. If you're here in Ottawa and if you're abroad, then nice to meet you. My name is Eduardo Belletti. You can come to me for creating and communicating clear value propositions to a variety of different stakeholders as you try to grow a new initiative or your company. I work with Carleton University, and I have my own company on the side as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Eduardo. Nice to have you. Tanya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Hewitt. I echoed Eduardo's concern for anybody who was affected by the severe storms that we had last Saturday. And Beyond Safety Compliance helps businesses realize that compliance is just the minimum bar, and that's about it. So thanks so much, Tanya Hewitt, Beyond Safety Compliance. How does your work look?
Cool. Okay, well, it's nice having people from Ottawa. Yes, we covered the storm before we were online. So there's been a lot of happening this past weekend. So we've got a few, I don't know, Mark, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
So I'm Mark, and I'm a software engineer. I'm currently in Ottawa, and I'm working on a project with the goal to help students save time and capture important information during lecture. So as far as what I'm interested in building the future. I want to build new products that help people solve everyday problems. I'm interested in AI, and I'm going deep into natural language processing and understanding right now. This is my first time here, so I'm just here to see what it's all about and just see if I can learn something today.
Perfect. Welcome. And Matin. And Matin, I don't know if you hear me, so I'll move over to, I think it's Fuad.
Fuad's going to be one of the speakers.
Okay, so we'll move up to Bernie then. Bernie, who is Bernie?
Hello, folks. Bernie Francisco, Creative Insight Consulting. You'll see a little shot in the chat box, and there's one component. It's a property wizard, so that's about commercial real estate. And if you're interested in knowing about that, in Pure Fog Canada. But B2B connections is what I do. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Perfect. Well, I'm also very interested in your presentation today, guys, on AI. I'm also part of Unified Remote Work, and we work with artificial intelligence, smart machine learning, and smart robotic processes. So I love it. I'm just going to do a little post in the chat, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you today. So Bernie, how about you introduce our presenters today?
Absolutely, Margaret Ann. Folks, let me introduce Justin Hacker and Mia. welcome, gentlemen. They started Uncanny Lab in 2020, and the Ottawa-based company started in June 2021 with the Blue Cap project. And this project, I can describe what it does, but I think that's what they're going to do. So I'm not going to get into too much of their profile that way. They're an Ottawa-based company, and they already are integrated in different areas. Some of the markets they're looking for is in the healthcare, obviously in the sales industry, and so forth. And with all that said, I'm going to stop and I'm going to hand it over to Justin and Fouad.
Perfect.
Perfect. Now, Fouad, you're here with your ears on.
Yeah, he's on mute.
I am.
Ah, the Zoom meeting problem again. we use Google Meet mostly, so when we end up in a Zoom, we're just like, what's going on? So as Bernie did, a great introduction for us. We're with Uncanny Lab Limited, and we're here to talk a little bit about our flagship product, Blue Cap. Blue Cap is a number of things. It's kind of hard to, on the surface, kind of boil it down to one thing. It's a conversational intelligence tool, I guess is the best way to say it, Fouad. Is that what we've landed on at this point?
I think just one small part, if I could change, is tool to platform.
Oh, yes.
And you're right, Justin. I think we started with very simple idea, and we could only call it a tool because it was a tool. And I think we just evolved over time into so many things that it can do. And now it only justifies to say a platform.
Yeah, exactly. And, so there's a twofold benefit to a technology like Blue Cap. And because it understands emotion and it understands speech and it understands all these neat things, it lets you, the participant, first and foremost, participate in meetings. So, typically in a meeting or a presentation, you're there, you're taking notes. You're kind of half invested in both actions. What Blue Cap tries to do is take away as much, if not all, of that note-taking as possible. But then, there's an added bonus to it for the organization as a whole. And it's basically, it's looking at your relationships with people. So, I mean, the most important, thing that you're going to do in business is you're going to talk with people. You're going to interact with people. And AI technologies like this, it's leveraging that understanding of emotion, that understanding of behavior to give you judgment calls about people, to see if what you're saying is resonating with people, to see if your relationship over time is growing with people or declining, and then to help you, take actions based on that. And we're going to get into how it does that in a little bit here, Fouad. I don't know if you want to add anything more to that preamble. Nope, you're good.
You did amazing. Yes.
Let's just dive right in then. We're podcasters, so I'm kind of bringing that podcaster energy here. Let me see if I can remember how to share screens on Zoom. That's the Now you should see Blue Cap dashboard. Perfect. So when you log into Blue Cap, this is kind of what you're greeted with. It's basically everything you should know for that day. And I'll give you a little sneak peek of some stuff we're working on here. But, as it is right now, you log in and you can kind of see the basics of your meetings. What have I attended? What have I hosted? What have I joined? What have I missed? And you can kind of use this to actually, go back and kind of review things. But that's simple stuff. That's just collating, really. Where we start adding some AI into this is, the contacts by sentiment. And when we look at this, it tells me I've met 22 unique people in the last 7 days. And they've responded to me in these ways, very positively all the way down to very negatively. I think I made a sales associate pretty upset with me last week. That's what happened there. We'll not talk about that, though. I only talk about the very positive. But, I can kind of gauge at a glance, how things have been going in the last 7 days. So I can say, it's been a pretty good week. I also have the ability to look at sentiment, over time, as well as, overlay some additional metrics on it. So if that is a, description of how people have seen me in the last week, this is a kind of indicator of how I've been presented to people. So when I look at this, I can see that I've had, 2 meetings this day. My average sentiment was neutral, and my participation rate was 15%. So I wasn't participating that much, and it was a kind of neutral day. Today, however, I believe today, yep, I've had, 4 meetings. I participated about half, and, I've been neutral because I've been doing presentations again. So, as I go through this, I can kind of see the effects of number of meetings in a day on my participation, my sentiment. And, you could kind of use it as a tool to improve your energy, to improve your perception, to just overall improve your day by, adding that extra bit of energy you may not be aware of that you needed. So, week over week, I can see if I'm improving. I'm actually down over last week. A little bit less participation, a little bit less sentiment. But that's just me slipping, and this thing's letting me know that.
Now, Justin, if I may want to add something to that, what is so valuable. If we compare contacts by sentiment side by side, I think we can dive into a little bit deeper context and analysis to see what is, if there are any correlation or causation between my sentiment and engagement over time versus the overall contacts that I have met and their sentiment. Now, for example, Justin, if you compare that, click on compare on the chart, you could probably see that he made, there were less number of people happy during the active week versus the week that he is comparing to. And maybe the next thing that we'd like to see here, if his engagement or sentiment on the right-hand side decreased as well in the current week, then maybe we could say, we could justify our biases in terms of understanding that, hey, maybe sentiment and engagement has something to do with the people that I meet in terms of how they leave the calls. And if there is a correlation week over week, then you could probably confidently say, okay, so let's probably find some ways to bring some excitements, positive sentiment to our staff so that they're motivated, driven to drive more positive outcomes, as an example.
Yeah, that's a great example. And it's also a great jumping off point to kind of our future roadmap for this. So, while we have these charts here for you now, in the long run, we're going to be using our AI to analyze these metrics for you. And you'll be getting, contextual suggestions here. This is what happened last week. Try this next week, and that'll, kind of fix your problems. So we're also, while you can interpret this now, we're building the AIs that interpret it for you to help you get through this quicker. At the very bottom here, we kind of have our first glimpse into these insights. And this is just a look at the conversations that I used to be having a lot with people, but they've kind of fallen off. I haven't talked to Joe in a bit. Joe's been, I believe he's building a home in the woods, Fouad. So I haven't talked to Joe in a couple of weeks, and the AI has noticed that, and it said, like maybe I should have a conversation with Joe because it's been a while. The last conversation was, left in a hanging point. Have another conversation with Joe, or any one of these contacts. And normally I have about 8 here, so the fact it's down to 3, I feel really good about. And then we kind of, go ahead, Fuad. Go ahead.
If I may add something, Justin, we are not completely disclosing what are the different dimensions we are using to calculate and bring this suggestion. In the future, we'll give a little bit more insights in the coming weeks to months in terms of what are the few things that needs to be reviewed. For example, as you'd hover on one of these insights like profile Joe or any of these other contacts, it'll give a little bit more insights. Hey, perhaps the last 2 calls, Joe did not seem to be happy during the last 5 minutes of the calls. Or it would give, hey, it's been a while. You used to speak with Joe, let's say twice a week in the last 8 weeks, but in the recent 2 weeks, we are looking at, less frequent conversations. Maybe you want to check in. Those things that we are considering and those things on the basis on which we are triggering these recommendations will give a little bit more deeper insights, textual insights in the coming weeks.
And I think the cool part about that is just it's the overall theme that we're having here. Of the goal of the AI here isn't to replace anybody. It's to allow you to gain insights quicker, to allow you to do things more efficiently, and allow you to be overall better at your job. So that's why we're baking in a lot of these kind of AI understandings, so that yes, you could spend the time looking at all this, but if you can train an AI to do that effectively, why not offload that onto your AI companion? And the final thing that's interesting about the dashboard is, so when you set up a Blue Cap account, you kind of note down some competitors and some of your own products that you want to kind of track over time and see how people are talking about that. And this goes into the whole sentiment portion of this. So you can see here our main kind of sub businesses when we talk about this is notes, summaries, marketing, and analytics, which is just scratching the surface, but that's what I've got set up here. So I can see over the last 7 days or 30 or however long, what was the general sentiment I received back from people when these conversations came up. So we talked about notes 19 times, and the jury is not out on this. People don't like taking notes. So we got a very negative sentiment on that. But, people definitely love the summaries. They love the fact that there's like summaries at the end of it. So I can kind of see, overall, what is the sentiment across all my contacts on these specific subjects that are relevant to me. And, if you don't want to care about your products or services or your competitors, this could track any number of things that you actually want to see in terms of, what sentiment is being brought back to you when you have conversations about them.
Now, another important thing that could be taken as in terms of insight is, imagine if you had your own column of data of products that you sold during this period of time. And you could probably connect, all right, these are the number of times I spoke of notes. These are the number of times I spoke of summary. These are the sentiment. These are the delta. And what are the number of products or revenue I generated from there? And a correlation causation could be drawn from, as simple as number of times being mentioned, also considering the sentiment on those counts and the revenue that's been generated. And that could lead to many different other analyses. Another way of looking at that table in terms of deriving insights is what products is becoming more popular versus less popular over time. Another thing that the reason you saw a lot of those deltas were negative is because there are different sub products that we are introducing, which we are talking a lot, but we haven't tagged in our configuration yet as to why we see that the delta of those sub products are decreasing significantly. But if we had those new products there, then you would probably be able to connect why those are decreasing. And our new products that we often now recently talk about are culture related products within this platform.
Which is a whole level of understanding that's coming out in terms of, what is your corporate culture and what is acceptable in that culture? What's a faux pas? What isn't? So this screen here is basically the result of holding a meeting with you. And just quickly, Blue Cap joins into this just like it's a regular caller, and it listens, it observes, and then it gives you the full transcript, the full speech to text of the conversation. It gives you a video recording, which we'll get back to in a minute. But then the AI kind of kicks in here and it does a couple of things. It gives me an executive summary in plain English of what the conversation was about. So this was a kind of sales / partnership call with another company, Trident. I guess that's how you'd say that, Trident. And basically we did this presentation about Blue Cap with them, and they had some questions. And we ended it with we're gonna move forward with the conversation at a later date. So that's the AI summary of it, which covers all the major points. And then I have my key takeaways, which is a further boiled down list of anything that's important that happened in the meeting. Now that's people, things, deliverables, money, dates, anything that's of note that I should take extra care for is added in the key takeaways. So you can see here, we're going to send them a trial of the software. They're specifically interested in the sales and recruiting verticals. Which is where we've had a lot of interest for this kind of technology, because of course sales is all about relationships, and so is recruiting. We've talked about our expanding language support, so maybe that's something I want to let them know about when the language support is expanded. And then, yeah, the meeting did end with a request for a pricing sheet. So that's a good positive signal that this deal might, progress. Any of these items, there's also contextual actions I can do with it. So for example, sending them the pricing sheet, I can turn that into a task straight from here. This is going to go into my task manager and let me know, when's the due date for this? This is what you had to do, and this is what meeting it's related to. So it kind of helps you keep organized and gives you those contextual kind of cues of what to do next, which is a hard part at the end of every meeting. It's like, okay, the meeting's over. What now? This is trying to answer that question in an intelligent way. We can also from here generate things like a follow-up email. This is a beta feature, so if it does something weird, be prepared. I guess that's more me reassuring myself. So what it does is it actually takes the context of the conversation and it generates a potential email to send back. Now, of course, you want to proofread everything an AI generates because sometimes it's a little more creative than you want it to be. But one of the hardest things after a meeting can be, what is a great way to summarize what happened and what's the next steps that we should do? So yeah, this is ready to go. You can send. It sends as you. It doesn't send like from Blue Cap or on behalf of. It actually pretends to be you with the right configuration. So it's just like you wrote this email at the end of the conversation to follow up with people. Now, some more things that this does is, like I said, it had this video, but this video is also, synced with the transcript. So as we're going through this, the transcript is rolling. But it also kind of highlights things like when my products were mentioned and in what way. What competitors were mentioned and, what was the sentiment around that, which, this is a big win for us because, Gong and Chorus being mentioned, in a negative light is, not so good for them. Great for us. Because, people have started shopping through these softwares and they're kind of saying, yeah, there's the pros and cons of each of these. And then you have things like events. So we talked about, client meetings, Zoom meetings. And the neat thing we can do here on top of getting the sentiment is we can go right to the moment that was talked about. So we can kind of zoom in on the portion of the video where it was talked about and the portion of the transcript. So I can get the context of that. And, if I see a particularly positive signal or a particularly negative signal, I can zoom right in on that. And all this is possible because, not only does the AI understand the language, the things that you've said, and the sentiment, it understands the context. What was the context of client meetings? It goes back and it looks at it just like a person would. Why was that said? So what was the sentiment because of that? And then we have our breakdown at the end of the basic kind of summarization of what the overall sentiment of everyone in the meeting was, what their participation rate was. Now, this was a presentation, and I probably talked a little more than I should have. So I've got 70% there. But I can see that the clients were asking, questions. They were engaging. And, in sales, that's important to engage the other party because, you don't want to talk at someone. You want to have a conversation. And, the results of that, where we got, pretty good feedback. Deb, always the positive in the meeting. And then, the rest of us were kind of neutrally fact talking. We're talking about numbers. So we got, it was overall a good conversation. It wasn't bad. And, Fuad, I don't know, is there anything else you want to add about the meeting window itself?
Well, I think just one thing I wanted to elaborate a little bit more is the ability to take actions. Data often, as we know, are saturated. Insights are saturated. You have your email insights in your email platform. If you have your meeting notes either on your table or another CRM, and then putting all those things together, taking the next action also requires pulling another application. So there are a lot of different obstacles in between gathering these insights together and then taking the next action. By that time, it's your lunchtime coffee. We are unproductive. So what we have done is to facilitate those journeys based on context and insights that are being generated in the journey. So for example, as you interact with different entities here, categories of entities, different contextual actions are available to you as you hover on them. For example, if you click on hover on meeting, you can create a meeting versus if you click on an organization or another entity like person, you are given different different actions of options. Create account. And if you look at persons, we can create a contact, for example. And in the next week or so, as you hover on real time, it would be able to query our database and it'll be able to recommend and give you that augmented ability of visualizing who are these people in your database. And if not, they don't exist, only then you can create a new contact or so forth. As you can see from prices, we can create a new deal. Versus, as you saw, from contact, you can, sorry, person, you can create a new contact and so forth.
$4 would be a sweet deal for it.
And I think the $4 that came in this meeting is what we sell per hour. The only thing that's metered in our application is the meeting hours. Everything else is unlimited in terms of usage, access, and processing. But what a great way of, you know, creating a task, an action that's contextual, relevant, based on the information you're extracting and giving you that ability right there. Also being able to seeing that emotion around those entities right away gives us more context in the sentiment and so forth. So that's the other thing, Justin, that you were showing. We find it really helpful, and what we hear from our customers are also helpful is the follow-up email. It often takes us quite a bit of time to construct all of those actionable insights that we would like our participants to know after the email. If that can be automatically generated and with a few modifications, again, in the interface itself, Justin, as you click AI follow-up email, you can edit right there. And not only you can edit right there, you can schedule it for a future date. You can attach your you can attach more attachments and so forth. I believe there's a schedule for future date here somewhere. Maybe that's still in the dev, but I thought that was already, oh, there we go, schedule time on the right-hand side. So all of those Gmail features are right there that you can take in place. And this is an editable window, Justin. If you click on it, you would be able to type, edit, anything. So again, really facilitating that that action. You don't have to copy paste and go back to your email again, and then modify. All those small little things are actually burdens for us that often take us, you know, something that we can get done now versus getting it done tomorrow. So yeah.
And speaking of burdensome things, when the meeting's done, we have to consider, you know, what happens next, which is a lot. Zoom likes to cover bars. So the thing that, you know, is most troublesome after a meeting is maintaining your CRM and actually keeping this data that's, you know, nebulous in some kind of sensible format. So, you know, everyone we meet with, and we've met with Megan before, I see you in here, and we've met with a bunch of other people. So this is everyone I've ever talked to in a meeting that automatically gets, you know, loaded into this CRM, and I can kind of see who they are and what they're all about. So I've kind of picked a little bit of cherry picking here. This is a contact I talked to a couple of months ago. He was in the HR and payment kind of vertical, and he was trying to partner with us for our remote workforce. But, you know, when I look at this, I basically get the full picture of every interaction I've had with Quentin. But we've also added this AI insight, which basically looks at the last couple of interactions and kind of gives me a description of who this is. And, you know, why is this useful? First of all, when you haven't talked to a contact in a while, one of the first questions that crosses your mind is, who is this person? Which this tries to answer immediately. Or if you've been parachuted into some kind of meeting or deal or conversation with someone who you aren't familiar with, you know, the lead is sick and you're the only one available for that, how do I get caught up quickly? So, you know, what BlueCap does is looking at their interactions and analyzing it and understanding everything that's happened. It gives you the quick rundown of who they are and what their objectives are with you. And, you know, how they've been reacting with your company. Has this been a hostile contact in the past? And that kind of speeds everything along. It speeds you catching up. It makes you more comfortable for your next meeting and makes you more effective. I can also see over time, how has my interactions with Quentin been? Have they been declining? Have they been increasing? And we've also broken down sentiment into the stages of a conversation, because a conversation, it has its ups and downs. So this measures those ups and downs. And, everything was, very positive, very, very, very cordial. I can kind of see here, I've only talked to Quentin once in this time period. Let me see. I guess I only had one conversation with him. But I can kind of see how it went. I can see the things we talked about and how he responded to them. Didn't like notes. Nobody likes notes. Nobody likes note taking. And that's the kind of things you see. You see these trends. What are people into? How has it changed over time? And if I see, a particular affinity for a competitor here, then that's, a risk for me in this deal. I need to, specifically talk to that. Or if I see they have a particular distaste for something another company is doing, that's an opportunity for me. Something I could say, well, we do this differently. And it just helps you kind of figure out the angles you want to take with someone, how the conversation's been going over time, and what way to approach them. What if you want to add anything?
I think one of the important things to note is that in the context of CRM and its functionality and usage, one of the continuous labor that we have to contribute as user is every time an interaction takes place, we have to summarize that. We have to update the ticket or the case or whatever that is, if it's and aggregatedly, that requires a lot of time. Imagine if I am serving 400 customers every month and I'm taking 5 minutes to summarize my call cognitively to also extract the business opportunities from those conversations, as well as solve the ticket issues and so forth that are in question, it becomes quite a bit of task. Now, if AI could continuously extract those insights and contextually continuously keep updating those, that's a lot of value in terms of how much burden we are subcontracting to AI from humans. And that time we find new time that didn't exist before. And not only that, there's so many other enterprise, culture driven and vision driven cohesiveness in terms of writing and extracting insights from same cognitive capabilities, meaning you can train the machine to drive exactly what you were looking for, not necessarily what each one of us, let's say if you have thousand staffs, you'll always have a bucket of people who may not follow your instructions as desirably as you would like them to. With this, your data qualitativeness, your insights are actually being manageable from your vision, that is.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing to look at this. Like we've given you a series of use cases for AI here, but just to cap off the whole conversation on AI, I mean, that's where AI is great. It's great at taking human tasks, cognitive tasks, and blowing it up to scale. So, I mean, whatever you throw it at, whatever problem you throw it at, it can solve it if it's something that a human could already solve, essentially. Just by, the sheer ability to look at vast amounts of data, collate it quickly, interpret it quickly, understand it, maybe even better than some people because it was trained by an expert. So, I mean, this is just one example of the multitude of things you can do with AI. And we're working on a whole other medical section of this, like being trained by expert doctors to understand the interactions between doctors and patients and then generate medical notes. So it's just, the possibilities are really wide ranging and very cool with AI in terms of what it can do. Claude, was that a link to something you want me to put up?
Yeah, it's Neil's profile, and just a little bit more data. And one thing I wanted to show with that specific visualization is the sentiment scorecard, how each interaction we are tracking here. And I think Justin did a very amazing job explaining it, but with a little bit more data, it becomes more visualized, the sentiment. What I'm trying to show is that, for example, in this particular profile, we had 5 meetings, as you can see, 5 Google Meets. Those vertical sentiments faces are actually different part of the calls. Let's say at 10 minutes interval or so forth, depending on the length of the calls. We have different number of times we report how the call was at a different duration level. So what this one really does, if in a call center perspective or a customer center point of sales perspective, or at any engagement, if customer service is the key here, you can see how that interaction ended at the end. For example, March 23rd, the person started the call very happy. They were really happy, but the ending was a little bit neutral side. On April 7th, the call started happy, but then when the business call topic started, they were positive, but not very positive, and so forth and so forth. But it immediately gives you an understanding how the last interaction went, not just by average, but how it started, how it proceeded then, and then how it ended with. And then each interaction at the bottom, I believe Justin was about to show, but he may have some other things to show before that, is that all of these interactions are listed, categorized, so that you can see them just a little bit more below there, past meetings. And if I have anything scheduled, I would be seeing that too. But Justin could see quickly what that past interaction was about, quick summary, and some key takeaways from there. And if he wants to, with one click, he can go to that detailed meeting page by clicking that arrow, yes, and so forth and so forth. But Justin, sorry, to you.
Well, I think we're actually in the home stretch here. I think we said we wanted to end about 10 minutes before the hour.
Justin.
And anything else is going to be a can of worms. So,
Justin, can we mention what platforms it's available on and the hybrid?
Yeah, sure. So this is available for all your major meeting platforms. That's Zoom, Meet, Teams. You can also upload recorded meetings. You can also do a recording of a meeting in BlueCap itself. So if you were in a coffee shop, throw your phone down on the table with this running, you can have BlueCap there with you. So BlueCap can basically follow you anywhere. You can, like I said, with the recordings, you could go off grid and have a meeting in the forest if you wanted. Still come back and upload it to BlueCap. We're going to expand this out. I think we're looking at WebEx Squad and other verticals such as telephony through, I can never remember this phone company's name. Fuad, help me out here.
Ring Central.
Central. Yes.
And we're also looking into Dialpad and also other kinds of platforms. Some we already have started doing so. One of them that's public right now is CRM Zoho, where we bring the emotional intelligence within Zoho so that you can visualize, bring the insights into Zoho. For example, if I have Barney as a contact and I open Zoho, I would be able to see historically what has been Barney's sentiment with the interactions and the summaries of the meeting so that you don't have to come vice versa. You get the data where you are at that moment. The other integrations that we're working on right now, as you saw, that we are bringing collaboration and productivity inside our application. As we build our own native features, we're going to tie them with Jira, Confluence platform, that is, as well as Google Workspace and Microsoft Team, with much more deeper interactions.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we want to be everywhere you're doing work and everywhere you're having conversations.
Yes.
Cool.
Can we talk about the hybrid office space? You know, with the Sennheiser microphone.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, one of the pilot projects we're working on in Ottawa, if anyone's familiar with TCC Canada, former Shopify building there. They have executive boardrooms for rent, and one of their boardrooms we've been turning into a cognitive office, I believe we called it, Fuad, which is BlueCap ready. We put in some really advanced microphones, really advanced meeting stuff in there. So yeah, we're going to be rolling that out in the near future, and it's available for use.
We are combining biometrics along with, as Justin was saying, AI-driven microphones, but combining vision and other biometrics and our speech intelligence, we're going to deliver a seamless experience of meeting space. Meaning, let's say as you walk in, the environment would know if you have a meeting scheduled and so forth. It would understand your purpose and intent, and it will deliver some, again, actions that you can take so that, again, those technological burdens could be removed in the journey of meeting experiences from walking into the room, so that the room cognitively knows who you are, so it can detect and identify your intents based on your calendar and so forth, and bring all of the blue cap intelligence right into the context of boardroom, either on-premise or hybrid meetings.
Excellent. Well, I think we should leave it at that, because we want to have content if we're ever invited back, for sure.
You know what? I loved it. Great presentation, guys.
Thank you.
We've got a couple minutes now. If you stop screen sharing, you'll be able to see everybody.
Perfect.
And we can see if anybody has any questions or comments. Just put up your hand. There we go. Jeff.
Guys, great presentation. I think you have a lot of great features there. And I'm going to probably ask you about the most boring feature of your whole thing, because it's what I'm in the market for right now. Your transcription piece. How accurate is it versus like an Otter AI or some of the other stuff that's out there on the marketplace? That's an important feature for me. And I've just heard from some other people that Otter is okay, but it's not 100%. And for what I do, I need to pull exact quotes out of meetings I'm having with people. And I don't want to have to worry about whether that quote is accurate or not from transcript.
Well, what's our current benchmark for, say, a Zoom call?
So this is the way I would put it. Microsoft Teams, what we have seen, they are about 20% suboptimal than ours. For
the
Zoom,
default closed captioning.
Correct. For Zoom, I don't have a very confident number like that, but I would say it would be closer to that same very number, if not more, in terms of Zoom, some of the third-party services that they offer for transcription. We are doing significantly better than Otter, specifically. A huge difference in two different angles. Diarization is the first one, and then the second one is the precision of words. That is, in diarization, we're doing significantly better than Otter and any of the other ones.
I'd say we're almost at 98% for the diarization specifically, and diarization is separating the individual speakers in a room.
Right.
Go ahead.
We have seen higher precisions, of course, where similar voices are not there in the meetings. Now, there are cases where we see some have exact similar voices. Even humans have difficulties understanding, if you close your eyes, if you ask them who is speaking who, when. Those cases, yes, we have we have still difficulties. But when comparing with Zoom and especially Microsoft's native transcription, significantly better. When it comes to Google Meet, we're cheating a little bit. We're relying on Google to give it to us, and Google is not doing a very good job. We would say our Google one is as good as Microsoft Teams native transcription, if not a little bit better, actually, even there. But we are coming up with robust solutions that we would be converting the Google into our Zoom and Microsoft Teams mechanism, so we could give the same precision there as well. Ring Central and the other voice solutions would be able to give same precision as Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Which, if we talk about from Google's perspective, they say 95% and more in terms of their accuracy. So I will say we are in between 95% to 100%. I will say 97%, but it'd be not official statement.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of hard to give you an exact number because of course it depends on the conditions around you. How noisy was the room? How good was your audio? But yeah, the 95 to 98% range.
Okay.
But
Thanks,
like
guys.
Fuad said, sometimes Google makes me want to pull my hair out. So
I love the fact of how much time this can save you. I love the pre-populated emails when you had a conversation. I just look at it and go, wow, this is cool. I struggle sometimes, you have a template and then change it 20 times. I read the template that popped up and I'm going, hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty accurate. It sounds like me. I love it. So great job, guys. Anybody else have a comment? We've got time for about one more.
I think I saw in the chat, Tanya asked, would this take meeting minutes a bit more extensively than a summary?
Okay.
Fuad, how would you answer that?
No, absolutely. For specific use cases where more details are required, we can custom tune that for. Now, again, there are some limitations to how much more, but absolutely possible. For example, the healthcare, what we're doing is much more detailed notes, as you know.
Very granular, yeah.
Very granular. Physicians take everything that you say in terms of your history, family history, as subjective notes. And then you have your objective part of the notes. Then you have your assessment part, which needs to be as detailed as possible. You don't want to leave any assessment out of the notes. And then your action plans. So for them, we're creating a much more detailed version at the same time, removing all the noises, right? You could be talking about whatever in your consultation. And that should be removed. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes. If you discuss with us exactly how you would like your minutes to be, we would be able to achieve that.
Perfect. Okay, well, I would like to thank Justin and Fuad for joining us today. That was great. Bernie, I'll pass it over to you to give a quick rundown of what's going up.
Okay, so folks, first step, open the chat, save the chat. Second step, 5 minutes after the hour, you're going to see a survey. If you opted for no email communications beyond that, then you won't be seeing any other emails. If you see an email 5 minutes after the hour, it's the one and only, it's the survey says. What's coming up? Well, we have every Thursday, we have a session that comes up, and the promo code is 2022 gold. It's in there. It's events.com. And next Tuesday, we have audio branding, incorporating custom music and audio into branding. And that will be coming out by Ken, and he'll be delivering that next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think I covered all the points. Margaret Ann, over to you.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks a lot again for joining us. Yes, and we put the information because 12 to 1 on Thursdays is when we have a little bit more time for conversation. So we are welcoming people to join us. That's called our VIP, and membership starts at $25 for contributing to Connect Ottawa. So anybody that wants to be a bit more involved online with a community that, well, we're based in Ottawa, but you know what? We're welcoming people from all around because together everyone achieves more. So again, Fuad and Justin, thank you very much. I'm going to put you on the spot as people are leaving today. What are the top, 2 to 3 takeaways that you'd like to leave them with?
Top 2 to 3 takeaways. Well, for one, we are, great for, reducing your actual labor after a meeting. We're leveraging AI to make things easier on you and make things more accurate. Well, hit me with the other 2. What are the 2? This is so on the spot for me.
Whoa.
Well, I think
rare I get a curveball.
Here, I'll put one out for you. I think one of the top, maybe the audience can help, because I think one of the takeaways I take is, hey, this can save a lot of time. Take away the mundane jobs from the human and let somebody else take care of those. So I really like the fact of you could save a lot of time using your services. How about anybody else out there? Did you generate any ideas as we were going through this presentation? Stefan.
Yeah, I think this is a great piece of artificial intelligence. I was wondering if it was a mix of supervised and unsupervised algorithm that you guys have created and infused into that a fantastic piece of art. It's no longer a work, it's an art at that level. And I was even thinking that would suppress totally my cluttered desk with paperwork. I don't have to note down whatever the conversation is going through. I can have, a track of that. So I think we're gonna circle back together. Again, I sent you both of Fuad and Justin some LinkedIn connection. And with my business partner, Marianne Davis and Bernard Franklin, I think we should have a back office conversation.
Perfect.
Upstate.
Okay, so not that I want to continue, but it is 2:00 and I'm going to have to love and leave everybody else. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Justin and Fred, for your great presentation. Did you put your connections into the chat? And we'll share them also under the video, I guess, because I don't know if you put your contact information so people can reach out to learn more about your services.
So Claude, Justin, Deb, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.